My name is Olivia Carter, and I was 37 years old when a single message the night before Mother's Day changed the way I saw my family forever. I was standing in my kitchen in Savannah, Georgia, checking the final details for the next morning. The waterfront brunch was fully booked. The flowers were upgraded. The photographer had confirmed the best lighting time. Every detail was handled, and every payment had already been made under my name. The way it always was when my family wanted something to look effortless. Then my phone lit up. It was our family group chat. My mother tagged me and wrote one sentence. "Stay home tomorrow. We do not need your side of the family." For a moment, I did not move. Not because I did not understand it, but because there was no softer way to read it. My husband Daniel, my daughter Emma, my son Noah, they were my side of the family, which meant they were not hers. A few seconds later, my father reacted to the message. A simple thumbs up. Then my sister Lauren added a laughing reaction like it was all some kind of joke. I typed back slowly. "So that is what we are to you." No one answered me. The chat moved on as if nothing had happened. They started talking about outfits, about flowers, about the perfect light for photos. Like I had not just been told to disappear from a day I had paid for. That was the moment something inside me went completely still. Not angry, not hurt, just clear. Because for the first time in my life, I realized something I had been avoiding for years. I was not loved in that family. I was useful. And the moment I stopped being useful, everything they built was going to fall apart. I grew up in a house where everything looked perfect from the outside. We lived in a quiet neighborhood just outside Charleston, South Carolina. The lawn was always trimmed. The windows were always clean. My mother Diane Carter cared deeply about how people saw our family. Every holiday had to look like a magazine photo. Every gathering had to feel polished and effortless. But inside the house things worked very differently. My father, Michael Carter, was a quiet man. He avoided conflict whenever he could. If my mother said something sharp, he would call it stress. If something felt unfair, he would say it was not worth making a scene. Keeping the peace mattered more than telling the truth. And then there was my younger sister, Lauren. Lauren had a way of walking into a room and becoming the center of it without trying. She was confident, charming, easy to like. My mother adored that about her. Lauren was the one she took shopping before events. The one she posted about online. The one people noticed first. I was different. I was the one who made things run smoothly behind the scenes. When I was 12, I learned how to cook because my mother was tired and Lauren had activities. When I was 14, I handled small problems before they became big ones because that kept everyone calm. By 16, I already understood that asking for help made people uncomfortable. So I stopped asking. When Lauren turned 16, my parents helped her get a car because she needed confidence. When I turned 16, I was told that independence builds character. When I baked something, it was appreciated for a moment, then forgotten. When Lauren brought a gift, it became a story that lasted for days. No one ever explained the difference. But I learned it anyway. In our house, effort did not earn attention. It created expectations. And slowly, without realizing it, I stepped into a role that felt natural at the time. I became the one who fixes things, the one who shows up, the one who makes everything easier for everyone else. I thought that meant I mattered. I did not understand yet that it only meant I was reliable. By the time I built a life of my own, I thought things would finally feel different. I was in my early 30s living in Savannah, Georgia, with my husband Daniel. We had a quiet home, a steady routine, the kind of life that did not depend on anyone else's mood to feel peaceful. Daniel was nothing like the environment I grew up in. He was calm in a way that did not feel distant. He listened without trying to fix everything immediately. He noticed small details and remembered them. When something bothered him, he said it clearly, without raising his voice. It took me a long time to get used to that. We had 2 children. Emma was 7, thoughtful and observant. Noah was 5, full of energy and always laughing. With them, I felt something I had never quite felt growing up. Ease. But my relationship with my family did not change as much as I expected. They still called when they needed something. My mother would mention a bill she was behind on in a way that sounded casual, but carried expectation. My father would ask questions about payments or paperwork, and somehow the responsibility would end up with me. Lauren would go through phases where something urgent always came up at the worst possible time. A late rent payment, a slow month at work, a situation that needed quick help. And every time I stepped in, because that was my role. One night during dinner, my phone rang, and I stood up automatically to answer it. Daniel watched me quietly. After I came back, he asked a simple question. Did she call to see how you were, or because she needed something? I answered without thinking. She is just going through a lot right now. He nodded but did not argue. Then he said something that stayed with me longer than I expected. I understand more than you think. At the time I brushed it off, because admitting the truth would have meant admitting something I was not ready to face. That I was still living the same pattern, just in a different house. At some point, helping my family stopped being occasional and became constant. It was never presented as pressure. It always sounded temporary. Just this once. Just until things settled down. Just a small favor. But those small favors started to add up. My mother would mention her credit card balance getting higher than expected after hosting events. I would quietly transfer money to cover it. My father would talk about fees or missed notices from the homeowners association, and I would step in before it became a bigger problem. Lauren was different. Her requests came in waves. A marketing expense for her real estate listings. A slow month that turned into another slow month. A situation she described as bad timing that somehow kept repeating. Each time I told myself it would stabilize soon. Each time I believed it. Then there were the family events. Holiday dinners where I covered half the cost without being asked directly. Weekend trips that somehow needed deposits I ended up placing. Special occasions that required upgrades because my mother wanted everything to look just right. Mother's Day that year was the clearest example. She described it like a vision. A waterfront brunch in Savannah. Soft colors. Fresh flowers. A private space for photos. Something elegant but relaxed. She never asked if I could afford it. She just talked about it until I stepped in. I booked the reservation. I paid the deposit. I upgraded the flowers after Lauren said the standard ones looked cheap. I added a photographer because my mother wanted one perfect picture of the whole family. Even the summer vacation came up in conversation. A house near the beach where everyone could relax. I placed the initial deposit under my account because it was easier that way. Daniel noticed everything. One night after the kids were asleep, he asked me to do something simple. Add it all up. So I did. Over the past year alone, I had spent more than $30,000 on things connected to my family. I stared at that number for a long time. Then I closed the laptop. And the next morning I kept going, as if nothing had changed. Because part of me still believed that if I did enough one day, it would finally feel like love. I kept thinking about that number. $30,000 in 1 year. And still I moved forward with Mother's Day like everything was normal. Because that is what I had always done. I separated what hurt from what was expected. I told myself feelings could wait. Responsibilities could not. Until that message arrived. Stay home tomorrow. We do not need your side of the family. I read it again while Daniel stood beside me. Then I handed him my phone. He read it once. Then a second time, more slowly. When he looked up, his expression was not angry. It was steady in a way that made the truth harder to ignore. If they do not want us there, he said quietly, then they do not get to use you to make tomorrow happen. That sentence settled into the silence between us. For years I had allowed both things to exist at the same time. They could dismiss me, and I would still help. They could ignore my children, and I would still show up. They could treat Daniel like he was outside the family, and I would still pay for the picture they wanted to present. I had never connected those pieces. Until that moment, I looked back at the group chat. They were still talking about the next day, about outfits, about flowers, about timing, like nothing had happened. Like I would still be there. Like I would still make it all work. Something inside me shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough to change what came next. I walked back to the kitchen counter, picked up my laptop, and opened it. For the first time in my life, I was not opening it to fix something, I was opening it to stop. The first thing I opened was the restaurant reservation. The private room for Mother's Day sat there under my name with every detail carefully listed. Window seating. Soft floral tones. Space arranged for photos. Notes my mother had asked me to include, so everything would feel just right. For a moment I looked at it without clicking anything. I could almost picture the next day. The table set perfectly. My mother smiling for photos. My sister adjusting her outfit. Everyone enjoying something that looked effortless. Effortless, because I made it that way. Then I remembered the message. Stay home. I clicked cancel. A small confirmation box appeared asking if I was sure. I selected yes, without hesitation. Next was the florist. The upgraded arrangements Lauren insisted on were scheduled for early delivery. White and pale green tones. Something she called more elegant. I removed the order and watched the confirmation email arrive seconds later. Then I opened the photographer booking. That one slowed me down for a moment. Not because of the cost. Because of what I had imagined. Emma standing beside me in a soft blue dress. Noah trying to stay still long enough for a picture. Daniel with his hand resting lightly on my back. A photo that felt complete. Then I heard the words again in my head. Your side of the family. I closed the booking and canceled it. After that, everything became easier. The vacation rental account came next. The beach. House my mother had been talking about for weeks. I released the hold and accepted the partial loss of the deposit without thinking twice. Then I moved through the rest. I removed my checking account from my mother's credit card payments. I stopped the automatic transfer for my father's fees. I deleted my card from Lauren's business platform. Each step felt lighter than the one before. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just clear. For years I had been carrying weight that no one even acknowledged. And now I was setting it down piece by piece. My phone kept lighting up on the counter. Messages. Notifications. Conversations continuing like everything was still in place. But for the first time the system they depended on was no longer running. And I did not rush to fix it. The first confirmation email arrived at 10:51. Reservation canceled. 3 minutes later another notification appeared. Florist order canceled. Then the photographer. Then the vacation rental. One by one the pieces disappeared quietly from their plans. I did not send a message. I did not explain anything. I just turned my phone face down and sat there beside Daniel in the silence. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then, at exactly 11 p.m., my phone lit up again. Lauren tagged me. What did you do to the photographer? Before I could even finish reading, the next message came through. Are you serious right now? Fix this. I watched the screen without replying. At 11:03 she wrote again. Mom is going to be embarrassed. Do you even care? A few seconds later, my mother joined. Olivia, do not do this tonight. Mother's Day is tomorrow. Her tone shifted quickly from control to something softer. I think you misunderstood what I meant. I glanced back at her original message. There was nothing unclear about it. At 11:15, my father finally said something. Call me now, your mother is upset. That was it. Not are you okay? Not we should not have said that. Just urgency, because something had gone wrong. The messages kept coming. Lauren said I was ruining everything over one comment. My mother said she had only wanted a calm day. My father said this was not how family handled conflict. I read every word. And for the first time I noticed what was missing. No one apologized. No one asked about Daniel. No one mentioned Emma or Noah. They were not trying to fix what they had said. They were trying to fix what they had lost. And that made it easier than I expected to stay silent. By the next morning, everything had started to unravel. The restaurant released the private room after the payment was not completed. The florist moved on to other orders. The photographer filled the time slot with another booking. The plan my mother had spent weeks describing no longer existed. And for the first time I was not stepping in to rebuild it. Around 8:30 my phone started filling with new messages. Not from my immediate family. From relatives. An aunt asking if brunch had been moved. A cousin wondering why the photographer canceled. Someone else checking if everything was all right. That was when I understood what truly worried them. It was not the event. It was the image. I sat at the dining table with my laptop open and began pulling everything together. Bank statements. Transfer records. payment confirmations, emails I had never looked at twice. I moved carefully, making sure every number was accurate.
No emotion.
Just facts. When I finished, I had one clear total: $48,000 over the past 5 years. I looked at that number for a long moment. Then I took a photo of the printed records spread across the table, and I posted it in the family group chat. Below it, I wrote one sentence: "This is what I have paid for this family while you told mine to stay home." The chat went quiet. For almost a full minute, no one responded. Then my mother wrote first: "Family helps family." Lauren followed quickly: "You are being manipulative. You are trying to make mom look bad." My father added: "This should not be discussed in the group." I read their messages and typed slowly. "It was discussed in the group when I was told not to come. It can stay here now." That was when everything shifted, because for the first time everyone else could see it too. Not just what I had done, but what they had said. The messages came faster after that. Relatives started asking questions in the
Group.
Some were confused. Some were quiet. A few began connecting things that had never been said out loud before. My mother tried to explain. She said I had taken her words the wrong way. She said she only wanted a calm day. She said children could be overwhelming in certain settings. Each explanation sounded reasonable on its own, but together they said the same thing: my family was not welcome. Lauren lost patience. "None of this would have happened if you had just kept the reservation like a normal person." I read that sentence twice. Not because it hurt, because it made everything clear. She did not mention what was said. She did not question how it felt. Her problem was that I stopped paying. I typed one line: "You did not want me respected, you wanted the reservation." No one answered that. So I wrote one final message: "I am done paying to be disrespected. Do not contact me unless you are ready to apologize to Daniel, Emma, Noah, and me." I sent it and closed the chat. Then I blocked Lauren. I blocked my mother. I blocked my father. I sat there for moments staring at the quiet screen. It felt unfamiliar, like something important was missing. Then slowly something else took its place. Relief. Not loud, not overwhelming, just steady. For the first time in my life, no one was waiting for me to fix anything. And I was not planning to. That afternoon, I did not go to a restaurant. I stayed home. Daniel made pancakes because Noah insisted pancakes should not be limited to breakfast. Emma sat beside me with a folded piece of paper she had been working on all morning. She handed it to me with a small smile. It was a card covered in uneven hearts and bright colors. Inside, she had written one simple sentence: "Thank you for choosing us." I had to look away for a second before I could answer her. Because children notice more than we think. They notice when conversations change the mood in a room. They notice when their presence feels unwelcome. They notice when love sounds like something that has to be earned. For years I thought I was protecting my family by keeping peace with the one I grew up in. But what I was really doing was teaching my children something. I did not want them to learn that it was normal to be tolerated instead of valued, that it was acceptable to give more than you receive as long as no one complains. Sitting there with them, I realized something clearly for the first time. Love does not require you to shrink your world to fit someone else's comfort. Helping people can be meaningful, but help without respect becomes a quiet burden that never ends. If I continued the way I had been living, Emma would grow up thinking her worth depended on what she could provide. Noah would learn that being overlooked was something to accept. I did not want that for them. So I made a different choice. Not just for myself, but for the family that was actually mine. And for the first time, that choice felt right. A few days later, I received an email from my mother. It said, "I am sorry if you felt hurt." I read it once and closed it. Because that is not what accountability sounds like. It does not shift the focus onto feelings. It acknowledges actions. For most of my life, I believed that being a good daughter meant saying yes. Showing up. Fixing problems before they grew. Making sure no one else felt uncomfortable even if I did. But all that ever did was teach the wrong people that they could depend on me without respecting me. If you have ever been the one everyone relies on but no one truly sees, this is something I want you to remember. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect the life you have built even if it disappoints the people who benefited from your silence. Families should value your presence, not just your contribution. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop paying for a place that never made room for you. If this story connected with you, share where you are watching from and what part stayed with you the most. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that feel real, because they are.